Hi everyone, welcome to my video of our tour of Masada. We visited in July 2022 and it was part of our tour of Israel. A video of our entire tour is posted on my YouTube channel. A visit to Masada and the Dead Sea is an easy day trip from Jerusalem. For us, it was part of our 2-day private tour with Danny The Digger Herman, a well-known Israel tour guide and archaeologist. This is the entry hall of the Masada Visitor Center. We walk straight through it to get on the cable car. The ride to the top is only about 3 minutes. You probably already know this, but just in case you don't, Masada is an ancient mountaintop fortress in southeastern Israel, and it's the site of the Jews' last stand against the Romans after the fall of Jerusalem in 70 AD. The cable car was packed with people and was quite noisy. I've included subtitles of Danny's talk while riding up to the Masada Plateau. Danny is a very experienced guide and can effortlessly speak on any subject related to Israel's history. He's also an excellent vlogger. Search for his videos on YouTube under Danny the Digger.
This is one of the 8 Roman camps. There's another one on the other side of the valley, not reconstructed. This one was reconstructed and still very, very clear and visible. And the third one in front of where the buses are parked, 4 times bigger. So we are comfortably ascending from minus 300 back to sea level. The top of Masada is just above sea level. Beneath us is the winding path, which no one is using. Over a certain temperature, they won't let people use it because of heat strokes. Josephus called it the snake path because he saw it from the distance. It looked like a snake leaning against the side of the mountain. And when the Romans arrived, they had 3 camps here, 3 on the other side and 2 more in the north and the south, to make sure no one escapes. You see the wall? There's a wall, a clear wall at the bottom, to prevent the Jews from escaping while they're attacking it from the west side.
So they
No
built
one
a
is
wall
going to escape
around.
the punishment for rebelling against the Roman Empire. No one.
Wow. Oh, it's spectacular.
Following the fall of Jerusalem and the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 AD, the Masada Garrison, which was the last remnant of Jewish rule in Palestine, refused to surrender and was besieged by the Romans. It took the Roman army of 15,000 almost 2 years to subdue the fortress, which had a total population of about 1,000, including women and children. The Romans built an earthen ramp, which I'll show you later in this video, to bring their soldiers within reach of the stronghold. It's common belief that the Jewish defenders preferred death to enslavement, and it's said that the Romans found that when they breached Masada's wall that the Jews had taken their own lives. I would be amiss if I didn't mention that some historians and archaeologists claim that there is no physical evidence of a mass suicide. Regardless, Masada is a national treasure and symbolic of the bravery and determination of the Jewish people. Herod the Great built 2 palaces and fortified Masada between 37 and 31 BC. Danny is leading us to Herod's bathhouse.
Is to be small, or is it the floor? The height is short.
People could have been shorter, but it was for a different purpose. It's to keep the heat inside. A furnace back here outside, and the hot air was blown beneath the floor. You didn't see any of this, but beneath you, the hot air was blowing and going up the walls. At the end of this treatment, you would go back, cool down, put your towel down, and go to work. We, for the tourism flow, have this exit, which we're going to use now, and get finally to the heart of the complex of Herod's time here, the palace itself.
Just to provide some context, this is a model of Herod's Palace. We were just in the bathhouse, which was about here. When we go to the edge, I'm looking down from this area.
So we are at the northern edge of Masada with breathtaking views of the Judean desert and the Dead Sea. This is a royal view. Okay, this is a good place for the king to build his palace, and indeed, it's right here. Behind you, you can see the bedrooms. They were found with some mosaic floor still in them. We are standing at the balcony where you could stretch out and appreciate this desert view. But frankly, this is it? That's the palace? No, it's just a top floor. The rest of it is hanging against the abyss beneath us. Isn't that amazing? The middle terrace was round. Some say it was a banquet, some say it was a library, maybe it was both. And the lower level, you see there's a tourist there, that was the reception hall. That was actually found in an excellent condition, but if you want to see it, it's a long walk down, and worse, a long walk back up. But all of this is the palace, connected by spiral stairway, which didn't last. And Herod just is taking again Roman technology and pushing it to a new limit. Nowhere else in the Roman Empire at the time did anyone build anything close to this extravagant and daring design. I wonder how many workers died in the construction. But behind all of this is another purpose. It's extremely, extremely defendable. Herod is actually creating in this design lines of protection. So Masada, just to conquer Masada is almost mission impossible. But even if you did, the palace is protected behind this wall. And even if you got the top floor, you have two more lines of defense that you could escape to. Herod's construction always shows the two fingerprints of extravagance and paranoia. And you best see it here, extravagance and paranoia.
And then you see the triangle over here.
Yes, these are now remains of 100 years later when the Jews took shelter here and the Romans came after them. And this is all the defense system and eventually how they conquered it by building a ramp. It seems like it's such a big gap, but they're all, and we even have a little guest here.
What kind of bird is it? Their wings are beautiful.
This was first cataloged by Henry Tristram, so it's called Tristram's bird. It's typical only to this area, and if you have any peanuts, he will eat off your hand. They're very used to humans.
Otherwise, I still can make another one.
Because of the barren landscape, it's hard to understand how high up we are. Believe me, Masada is very high up and surrounded by sheer cliffs. It's what made Masada an impregnable fortress, until the Romans built an earthen ramp to reach it. From Herod's Palace, we walked over to the synagogue to visit with the rabbi. You'll notice another couple in the video. They happen to notice Danny guiding us, and it turns out they're big YouTube fans of Danny's vlogs. Lori invited them to join us.
Did you notice the architecture of this building? Look at this. Smooth. It's got a lot of benches lined up around the center.
It's a synagogue.
It's a place to sit together. How do you say to sit together in Greek? Synagogue. The word synagogue derives from the act of sitting together. That's an official scribe for writing Torah.
Writing the Torah. Oh. Yaseh Shalom. Yaseh Shalom.
Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
After visiting with the rabbi, we walked over to see the Roman ramp. The ramp is made of earth, and there is a siege tower at the top with a battering ram used to breach Masada's wall.
Part, Lori, where the wall is missing, and for good reason, because there's a ramp here that never reached the top, but was high enough to put the tower and a battering ram. And it seems that some of the Jews were planning to fight back by preparing these big round stones, but they were found here, meaning they were not used. And according to Josephus, the rebels here relied on God. They were certain that God will eventually provide the protection, but when the wall fell apart, they reached the conclusion God has deserted them. And they then assemble and decide, let us die as free men. Let us die a noble death. But what does it really mean? Committing suicide.
The Masada Plateau is much bigger than I expected. To get an idea of how large it is, look at the people walking on the path.
Incredible. It's incredible. The story of Masada, the architecture, all that they did up here is just incredible. It's hot.
Yeah, it's very, very hot. We're on the tower of Masada, which is, I think it's the highest point. Down here is part of Herods Palace. These are actually storerooms. And across the way is the Dead Sea. And beyond that is Jordan. We saw many important historical sites during our time in Israel. For me, Masada was one of the highlights of our trip. Here we are taking the short cable car ride down to the visitor center and to Danny's car. We were headed to the Dead Sea next. A summary of our entire tour of Israel is posted on my YouTube channel, and I'll put a link at the end of this video. Please remember to hit the thumbs up like button and consider subscribing. Shalom from Laurie and Steve.